Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
This and Burdick BMW Postgame Show with Giovanni Heater.
Welcome in once again on ESPN Syracuse and Tennessee down in Atlanta, and the Orange fall at the hands of the Volunteers. 45-26, the final score. Number 24 Tennessee starts the season 1-0, and on the other side, Syracuse falls to 0-1. Hi, everybody. Giovanni Heater with you. So glad that you could join us for our post-game show here from the studios at Galaxy Media. 2025 post-game show brought to you by Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, Burdick BMW, Burdick Ford, and it's presented to you as well by Point Guard Advisors and Charles Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical. Phone lines are open at 315-437-7644. It's the Massage Envy hotline located in Fayetteville and Clay. So go ahead, ring us in, give us a call, give us your thoughts on the Syracuse-Tennessee season opener. You know, unfortunately, the Orange, not their best performance I think that they were hoping for heading into the 2025 season, but still showed some good spurts, particularly in the second half. A hole was dug a little bit for the Cuse when you go down 17-0 in the first quarter. And then the turnovers became a little bit of a problem for Syracuse, and I think those are the two biggest things to look at here if you're a Syracuse fan. No doubt about it. 17 points for Tennessee in the first quarter. Then you even it up at 14 apiece in the second quarter. 7 points for Tennessee in the third, 6 for the Cuse, 6 for the Cuse in the fourth, and then 7 in the fourth quarter as well. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to dive headfirst into everything here. 45-26 final score. Tennessee takes down Syracuse. Once again, you're listening to the 2025 postgame show brought to you by Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, Burdick BMW, Burdick Ford. It's right here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio Syracuse.
John Frost & Sons Furniture and Flooring.
Yo, Jordan. Jordan, can you hear me? Jordan, can you come in here for a sec? I don't know why, but I can't hear anything in my headset. My headset. Maybe my headphones. Oh, my headphones died. That's why. I'll swap it out. I was like, what is going on? All right, I tossed the brake so quick, but I was like, what is going on?
Thanks, Lucas. You're too kind.
All right. Much better.
Good Lord. How do wired headphones die?
Because they're wireless and non-wired. I don't really know. Actually, would you be able to plug them in for me?
Yeah, that's die. Like they're plugged in, but they died.
Yeah, I didn't know they could do that either. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. So I couldn't hear anything, so I couldn't fade out the music or anything. You know what I'm saying? It was a mess. It was a mess. Oh, boy.
All good.
All right.
Right now, get $100 off each new window and $200 off each new door. Plus, no interest financing for 18 months. Go to universalwindowssyracuse.com to set up your free in-home estimate.
Is your exotic or specialty car losing that showroom shine? At State Import, we do more than just service and repair. We bring vehicles back to life with expert detailing, ceramic coating, and paint correction. Feel the pride of driving a car that looks as good as it performs. Have your vehicle expertly detailed at our Baldwinsville location. Visit upstateimport.com today and let your car shine bright again.
All right, chat. We're rolling. We're rolling. Now we got actual sound in our headsets so we can hear what we're doing. What's everyone's thoughts on the game? Drop them in the chat. Curious to hear everyone's breakdown.
Or visit ESPN 100.1. Watch live on CuseSportsTalk.com. This is the Burdick Ford, Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, and Burdick BMW postgame show with Giovanni Heater.
And with that, we welcome you back in studio. We're breaking down Syracuse football's season opening loss at the hands of the 24th ranked Tennessee Volunteers, 45-26, the final score from down in Atlanta. Hi, everybody. Giovanni Heater with you. Hanging out, having a good time on the Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, Burdick BMW, Burdick Ford postgame show. And it's brought to you all season long by Point Guard Advisors and Charles Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical. Go ahead, give us a call. Call in, talk on the show. We'll break down the game with you. 315-437-7644. The Massage NV hotline. You can find them located in Fayetteville and Clay. 45-26, the final score, like we had mentioned, and Syracuse dug themselves in a little bit of a hole early, right? You go down 17-0 right off the rip, and you're playing comeback throughout the entire game. I feel like Syracuse showed a lot better flashes in the second half than maybe they did in the first half. I think they got a little bit more comfortable. They really showed an ability to run the football, and then the defense in the second half was able to get a lot more stops, I felt like. And unfortunately, it was just, too little, too late. Game probably could have been a little bit closer in the scoring department if the Orange are able to punch in a touchdown or at least a field goal on that last drive. You go for it. You had to. On fourth down, it gets batted down at the line of scrimmage, and you come away empty. And at that point, Tennessee is able to just run out the clock. But let's go ahead and break down some of the numbers here. Steve Angeli in his Syracuse debut, he goes 23 of 40, 274 yards, which honestly, it maybe didn't feel like that, but he throws for 274 yards. One touchdown, one interception. Again, it was that tipped ball, the diving catch. So it's not like he wasn't reading the secondary properly on the interception. It's a tip drill situation at the line of scrimmage. I think the star of the game for Syracuse, no question about it, is Yassine Willis. 23 carries, 91 yards, average 4 yards a carry, and then he finishes with 3 touchdowns for Syracuse. It was definitely good to see Yassine Willis have the ability to run the football, and this team in total have the ability to run the football. Ran for 102 yards on the ground as a team, and all 3 of their touchdowns came on the ground. And that's going to be important going forward because, let's be real, Kyle McCord's not walking through the door, right? The prolific passing offense of throwing it 60 times a game is probably in the past. You're probably looking for more balance in 2025, and you have to be able to run the ball. And against a very, very good Tennessee defense, at least last year, Syracuse was able to show that they could run the football, particularly even in the second half when you're playing against the clock. They still were efficient in the run game. Last year, Tennessee's defense was number 6 in the country in total defense, number 7 in scoring defense. They were 29th against the pass, but they were number 10 nationally against the run. They were 11th in the red zone and 6th on third down. So Syracuse showing the ability to run the ball against last year's 10th best rushing defense in the country, that makes me feel okay. And I think Yassine Willis was a super physical runner, broke a couple of tackles, just never really quit on a play after the first point of contact, right? He was a tough guy to bring down, which is why it was 4 yards a carry for him. And I think that was certainly the brightest spot for Syracuse here today, outside of just the resilience overall that they showed. Looking at the Syracuse receivers, it was kind of an everybody eats, mentality. Jonte Cook definitely led the way. He had 6 catches, 58 yards, had the 1 touchdown on that screen pass down in the red zone inside the 10-yard line. Dan Villari, he's your second leading receiver, 5 catches, 55 yards. Justice Ross Simmons, 3 catches, 50 yards. Tyshawn Russell, 3 catches, 40 yards. Darrell Gill Jr. ends up with 2 catches, 33 yards. Will Nixon had a couple of catches out of the backfield. In fact, the first completion for Steve Angeli as a Syracuse Orange football player was a 21-yard completion to Will Nixon. So that was 21 of his 29 yards on 2 catches. David Clement and Jamie Tremble also caught a pass each as well. I will say this. There's one thing that we were wrong about, and that was Tennessee starting quarterback Joey Aguilar. Heading into the game, Mike and I had discussed, and particularly me more than Mike, that I thought if you could just stack the box and prioritize stopping the run and force Aguilar to be what beats you, he wouldn't be able to do it. And Syracuse would be able to cause turnovers and maybe get an edge there. And that's not exactly how it played out. Aguilar ends up going 16 to 28. Nothing crazy there on the completion percentage. 247 yards. 3 touchdowns, though, to 0 interceptions. So I think the Volunteers are feeling good about how their new quarterback played in his debut. But it was the run game for Tennessee. No question about it. Vols went out there and ran it down Syracuse's throat. 40 total carries as a team for 246 yards on the ground. Averaged 6.2 yards a carry and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Star Thomas was a beast. The transfer from Duke. 12 carries, 92 yards. Averaged 7.7 yards a carry. And then Deshaun Bishop. He was a dog as well. 11 carries, 82 yards, a touchdown, averaged 7.5 yards per carry. Tennessee was able to run it down Syracuse's throat, and really that was the difference. It just kind of felt like they had their way, if you will. Running the ball, passing the ball, third down, had the confidence. They ran a lot of different play action, trickeration, if you will. One thing with the Tennessee offense is they're going to run that wide splits, right? And they're going to go fast early and play with tempo. And it worked. To their credit, it worked off the bat. Syracuse gave away the football. You had the scoop and score where Steve Angeli fumbles it. They scoop it up, go the other way for 6, and you blink and you're in a 17-point hole. And that's just a lot to climb back out of if you're Syracuse. And Tennessee, to their credit, though Cuse got back into the game a couple of times, it felt like, never really let them all the way back in it. Never really let them within a possession. And they just stayed the aggressors throughout the entire afternoon. Looking at some big notes from the game and big moments in the game. The fumble was obviously huge. That was the scoop and score, and it happens right after Syracuse picked up a fumble defensively of their own, right? And then a couple of big moments for Cuse that just kept them in it. Angeli finds Jonte Cook on a 4th and 10. That got him inside the red zone. Led to a Yassine Willis touchdown that was early on in the game. Gave him a score right before the half. But then you give Tennessee the ball back. You're struggling to tackle. 2-minute drill for the Vols. Almost as if the Cuse had scored too early. And Tennessee's able to march down the field. Another thing that, unfortunately, has gone a little bit viral on social media was Syracuse facing Tennessee's tempo. Backs against the wall. Looks like the Vols are going to go score before the halftime break. You have Demetrius Samuel Jr. hit the deck with an apparent injury. And looking on the replay, it looked like Deuce Chestnut was about to go down as well, and he realizes that Demetrius Samuel Jr. goes down, and he gets kind of back up, and it was clear that maybe nobody was hurt. You don't want to speculate, but Syracuse, again, was essentially doing what Tennessee had been doing too, and everybody does in college football nowadays, but it was kind of a caught red-handed situation, and there was really no hiding it. That was another moment that sticks out. Aguilar made a couple of nice plays. One in particular was the touchdown throw to Star Thomas, the tailback, where he evades some pressure from Syracuse and then throws on the run, finds Star Thomas, who goes up and high points the football on Cuse linebacker Derek McDonald. That was a big play in the game because it was a 3rd down, and they end up scoring. So it just kind of felt like there were multiple moments where Cuse could have had a chance to make a big play and get a stop. Like, if Tennessee doesn't score going into the halftime break, Syracuse had just scored. You get the ball out of the half. And then on top of it, you turn it over with the tip drill interception right out of the halftime break. And just multiple moments you could point to that, hey, maybe Cuse has a chance in this thing to come back and make it a game. And unfortunately, it goes the other way. But again, Yassine Willis, I think, is a dog. 3 touchdowns. The O-line did a great job allowing him to run the ball. A strong push by the offensive line in the run department. And there were certainly some flashes from some different players. Give us a call. Hotline is open, 315-437-7644. On the other end of the break, we'll continue to break down Syracuse football's season opener against number 24 Tennessee. As always, right here on Cuse Sports Talk, it's Syracuse football postgame on Cuse Sports Talk at ESPN Radio Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
Someone asked me if I'm taking creatine, and I am.
Are you really?
And whey protein, yeah. Trying to get jacked, Steve.
Did you lift yesterday? Throw.
No callers. We got to get somebody to call in. Chat, somebody call in. Somebody call in. What do we think, chat? Somebody give us a ring. Somebody come chat with us. How much?
Favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on CuseSportsTalk.com. This is the Burdick Ford, Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, and Burdick BMW postgame show with Giovanni Heater.
Welcoming you back in studio, breaking down Syracuse's season opening loss at the hands of the 24th ranked Tennessee Volunteers, 45-26, the final score from down in Atlanta. Hi, everybody. Giovanni Heater with you on our post-game coverage. Cuse Sports Talk, brought to you by Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, Burdick BMW, Burdick Ford, and, of course, by Point Guard Advisors and Charles Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical. Phone lines are open. Give us a ring, 315-437-7644. And we got one caller on the line, Denise from Syracuse. Denise, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Doing great, Gio. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Grandma. How you doing?
You called me out. I was trying to keep it on the QTG.
Hey, Grandma, though, for those that don't know, diehard Cuse fan. So this is very, I know she was watching every snap, and I wouldn't be sitting in the chair if she didn't bring me to the Dome so much.
Well, I got to give Grandpa some credit for that.
So, Grandma, what'd you guys think of the game? Where'd you watch from?
We enjoyed the game. You know, SU's playing. It's football. It's Tennessee. It doesn't really matter who the contender is. SU's playing football, right?
I'm with you.
And loving that you're able to make comments on the show.
Well, thank you for calling. We love you.
Yeah, we are interested in your thoughts on the front line.
Okay. We can talk offensive and defensive line. Good idea.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, that's Denise in Syracuse. Thanks for the call. I also want to talk offensive and defensive line, and I think that's a great place to start because that was kind of one of the keys to the game coming into this thing was, could Syracuse compete with one of these big boy SEC offensive and defensive lines? Could Syracuse compete in the trenches? I think there are places that they did, and I think there are definitely places that they did not. I think running the football on offense, Syracuse was able to get a bit of a push. I mean, every time Syracuse scored a touchdown, they did it from inside the 5-yard line. They were on the goal line. Yassine Willis runs it in. Felt like that's how Syracuse was scoring their touchdowns. Then, of course, you had the screen pass, which was inside the 10 as well. And that doesn't happen without running the ball, right? Chipping your way down the field like that. Now, it doesn't pop off the page a ton. Syracuse ends up having 102 yards running the football. But Yassine Willis has the 3 touchdowns. I did think Syracuse found success in the ground game. Where I think they struggled was the offensive line in the pass game. I think Steve Angeli faced a lot of pressure, and I think that definitely was a big factor in Tennessee being able to pull away in this game. Some numbers for you to support that. Tennessee was able to control the line of scrimmage defensively by forcing 5 sacks on Syracuse and 7 tackles for loss. Felt like there were a lot of times Angeli was kind of fighting for his life a little bit, and that's going to happen. But 5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss, that front 7 for Tennessee was able to create a lot of negative plays. And there was a handful of times that there were blitzers coming untouched. I mean, it was a free-for-all at times. And that's where I think Tennessee definitely bested Syracuse. And then I think Syracuse, on their defensive front, that's where you got to get better too. Because we saw Tennessee run the ball for 246 yards. Not much of a push with the Syracuse defensive line against the run. And then they didn't really create much havoc defensively either on the defensive side of the ball if you're Syracuse. Not in the backfield a whole ton. Aguilar really never had to fight for his life, it felt like. You look at the defensive numbers, and I don't know if Syracuse had a single sack. Trying to pull it up right here. I can't remember one off the top of my head, a time where Syracuse brought Aguilar down to the backfield. So I think the one bright spot was maybe Syracuse's ability to run the ball with its offensive line at times. Not the whole game, but at times. And then they struggled in pass protection. They definitely struggled defensively against the run. And I think they struggled to get after the quarterback and wreak havoc in that regard. But it's a great point, and definitely appreciate the call. I think another big thing to think about here is, like, there's no need to hit any kind of panic button. Like, it's week 1. And I don't think Syracuse went there in any way and, like, made a fool of itself. It's unfortunate you dug a 17-point hole early. And against a team that's going to be deeper than you and probably more physically talented than you, it's going to be incredibly difficult to come back from that. But there were times in this game that Syracuse had a chance to be back in it. The final score was a bit lopsided, 45-26. If Syracuse would have punched it in the end zone towards the end there, things might look a little bit different. For what it's worth, Tennessee did cover. That's something that people look at. Tennessee covered I don't know where it finished at, but somewhere around 14-point spread. There were times it was 13.5, times it was 14. But I don't think you went there and, like, made a fool of yourself necessarily. Like, this wasn't when Tennessee beat the brakes off of NC State to begin last season. I don't think it's quite that dramatic. And I think the serious plus that you can take away from this is the fact that you're going to have opportunities at teams like this all season long, right? Like, this is far from the only top 25 team you're going to play this year. Matter of fact, you got Clemson, and they're 3 weeks from now. You're going to learn from games like this. You're going to apply the things that you learned down in Atlanta to the rest of the season. And with the schedule that Syracuse has, there's a lot to take away. Unfortunately, you had to learn it the hard way, right? You lose by 19. It's far from ideal. But now these guys, these younger guys, know what it's like to go play against that caliber of athlete. And to be honest, to be 100% honest, like Tennessee, you're looking at a team that's so high in the recruiting rankings year after year. 17th in 2022, 10th in 2023, 14th in 2024, 11th in 2025, 11th in 2026. You're talking top 15, sometimes top 10 every year since Josh Heupel's been there pretty much. I don't know outside of Clemson and maybe Miami, if you're going to play this caliber of athlete across the board with this kind of depth again the rest of the season. Syracuse plays in the ACC, not the SEC. Clemson, yeah, they'll probably have that. Miami, close to it. Georgia Tech's going to have guys. Are they going to be as deep as Tennessee? Probably not. SMU's going to have guys. Will they be as deep as Tennessee? Probably not. Oh, and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, pardon me. You'll probably see this level of talent against Notre Dame. But once you've seen it once, and it's out of your system in a way, you can continue to build on that. And I think you'll see Syracuse do that. I think there's no question you'll see Syracuse do that. I think a prime example of that is, let's be blunt. I think Tennessee saw an opportunity to pick on a guy like Demetrius Samuel Jr. For those that don't know, he's the 17-year-old two-way player, played a lot of corner defensively in the first half. Did not see him play any, and if he did, I must have missed it, wide receiver. So played corner today. But again, a two-way guy. And I think Tennessee saw an opportunity. He's 17 years old. Let's go pick on him. And it worked. And he didn't play as much corner in the second half as he did in the first half because he gave up the big long ball. He dropped it right on his head. Just a great route. I believe it was Chris Brazzell who broke free for Tennessee, beat him, cooked him, and scored the long touchdown. Actually, it was Braylon Staley, I believe, with the long one. Pardon me. 73-yard touchdown for Tennessee. And after that, Demetrius Samuel Jr. kind of wasn't in the game as much. And it just felt like they kept going his direction. And I don't know if they liked the matchup. I don't know if they liked he was guarding Chris Brazzell a lot in that first half. But for whatever reason, they kept going at number one in white. He's going to learn. He's 17. That's crazy to think about. He should still be in high school. He reclassified to be here. Join the team over Christmas break. It's kind of like, learning with your feet in the fire, so to speak. And in 3 weeks when they play Clemson, it's not, oh my God, that was crazy. That dude just ran right past me. It was like, oh, I've seen this before. I saw this. We just did this in Atlanta. And then again, you're gonna grow on that against Georgia Tech and again against Miami and Notre Dame. And the reason I say you'll keep building on it and not the opposite where you crumble is because of who the head coach is. Fran Brown is the head coach of Syracuse football, and I just don't see him as a guy who will ever lose a locker room. It's one game. It's one game. It's a bummer. It's a bummer. Don't get me wrong. Would have been awesome to go out there and beat a top 25 team and start the season hot, but you can still have a great year, and I think a lot of people wrote this one in as a loss. And I think you can still go out there and have a great year if you're Syracuse. And I think we're going to learn a lot next week against UConn. I think UConn is a team that some people could look at as, okay, you guys should be on a similar wavelength in a way. Public, national perspective, I'm saying. I think here at Syracuse we'd think different. But that's a team that won 9 games last year, beat an ACC team in its bowl game for what that's worth. And they come into the Dome. You can learn a lot. If you can take care of business and win it by multiple possessions next week, I think everything is right back on course. Phone lines are open here in Syracuse, 315-437-7644. Give us a call. We're breaking down Syracuse and Tennessee, 45-26. One more time, the final score. And we'll take a look around the ACC when we return as well. You're listening to the Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, Burdick BMW, and Burdick Ford postgame show right here on Cuse Sports Talk at ESPN Radio Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
Fran Brown interview, which will happen every Thursday at 12:15. Matt Park, also another huge guest, joins us every Thursday.
Another
also.
Thursday guest,
Yes,
right?
as they both promote the Fran Brown show that's happening at the old Myers Creek this year, 7 to 8 tonight, TK99, ESPN AM 1200.
Yeah, the Inner Harbor, Myers Creek.
Orange Nation, noon to 2. ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
Football season is here, and so are some great deals at Burdick Ford of Central Square. Burdick Ford is your locally owned and operated place to go, with staff focused on customer service to help you find the perfect deal. Gear up for winter with a new or used SUV or truck from Burdick Ford. You want confidence that you are making the right choice, and Burdick Ford will give you that confidence. Visit Burdick Ford today, just off exit 32 on 81 in Central Square, or at burdickford.com.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on CuseSportsTalk.com. This is the Burdick Ford, Burdick Toyota, Burdick Lexus, and Burdick BMW postgame show with Giovanni Heater.
Post-game coverage rolls on in studio here in Syracuse. The Orange fall at the hands of number 24 Tennessee in the season opener, 45-26, the final score from Mercedes-Benz Stadium down in Atlanta. And again, just an unfortunate one where Syracuse lets it get away from them. You go down 17-0, you lose the turnover battle by 1, and could never really dig yourself out of the hole. Still some positives and still a long season in front of Syracuse. I don't think there's any question about that whatsoever. So let's talk about maybe improving the team. It's brought to you by Auburn Community Hospital. Auburn Community Hospital is improving their team. Apply today at auburncommunityhospital.org. Many are wondering at this point, when you lose by 19 in the season opener against a ranked opponent on a neutral site, what needs to improve going into next season? Or next week, I should say. Not next season. What needs to improve? I think that the caliber of opponent's going to change next week, so it's hard to say, but I just think that you need better protection on your quarterback. You got to read the blitzes better, pick those up better, because there were a lot of untouched blitzers coming at Angeli throughout the game. But I think that you don't have to change a whole lot heading into next week. You have to trust the process in it a little bit. They ran the ball at times. You'd like to see more production in the passing game as far as maybe taking some extra shots. Angeli never turned the ball over besides the fumble. The interception, I should say. He threw the tip drill pick. He didn't throw one downfield that got picked off. It was a tip drill at the line of scrimmage. But I would like to see him not put the ball in harm's way quite as much. I felt like there were times downfield where it's like, okay, double coverage, you're trying to make a play, you get it, but like you almost got lucky that you still have the possession at that point. I don't know that Syracuse is going to face a prolific running attack in UConn and Colgate, but I do know that they will against Clemson. Clemson's got a new freshman running back that is, the new big man on campus there, besides Cade Klubnik and Antonio Williams. I think if the cat's out of the bag that Syracuse can't stop the run, that's something everyone's going to look to exploit. So I think that's what you need to show you can improve upon the next 2 weeks against UConn and Colgate. But I think in a lot of ways, too, it was week 1 against an SEC opponent who's deeper than you, more talented. Like, it's not a 1-week fix. And I don't know that it's a problem necessarily. Like, these things take time. And I think the issues we saw, so to speak, are more long-term than short-term. For instance, Fran's doing a terrific job bringing in these big bodies to bolster the offensive and defensive line. These 6'6", 300-pound guys to compete in the trenches with big boy teams. But that's not you can't microwave that overnight and be ready for that next week. Like, that's a next year thing, building into the year after, and that's building a program, not a week-to-week thing. So I think Cuse is going to be fine. I think everything that they had in mind, they had a national championship in mind. That's just how Fran Brown works in competing for the ACC. Everything the fan base had in mind as far as we could get 6, we could maybe get 7. We really got something going here. I think that's completely on the table. Completely on the table. I think Tennessee showed that they're going to be a pretty good team. I don't know that they're going to go to the college football playoff like last year, but Aguilar was better than I thought he was going to be. They can run the ball. And they just at times looked more physical and bigger than Syracuse. And I don't think that's a week-to-week thing. And I think that's something that Fran has already made tremendous strides in improving, the caliber of athlete that he has continued to bring in here. Phone lines open. Kind of a last chance if you want to call in and chat. 315-437-7644. As we scour through the ACC and see what the rest of the conference has going on today and throughout the weekend. Again, 45-26 final score. Tennessee takes down Syracuse. Boston College is beaten up on Fordham 59-3 in Chestnut Hill. Louisville took care of Eastern Kentucky so far at just halftime. It's 41-7. How about Florida State? 14-7 on top of number 8 Alabama, and the Noles have the football with 7:05 left to play in the second quarter. Tommy Castellanos is 7-7 for 81 yards. He's got 5 carries for 34 yards and a tud. Okay. All right, Florida State, we see you. We'll see how that continues to play out. Virginia and Coastal Carolina coming up later. Obviously, the big one, the marquee matchup tonight on ABC. Number 9 LSU travels to take on number 4 Clemson at Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. That's a huge one. That's a big one. SMU plays East Texas A&M at 9. Cal plays Oregon State. Pitt plays Duquesne. And then you saw Duke beat Elon. You saw NC State beat East Carolina. Wake with a 10-9. I kid you not, that was the final score. Win over Kennesaw State, and then a big win for Georgia Tech on the road in Boulder against Colorado last night. So to put a ribbon on this thing and wrap up the show, Syracuse, Tennessee, a lot of hype going into it. We were excited. We were fired up. Maybe it didn't go exactly the way Syracuse was hoping it would go. But I think that there's some positives to look at, and I think this team's going to continue to grow and get better as we go along here. And I'm getting word that we have some audio as well. We got Yassine Willis with Matt Park in the locker room, so we'll play that for you, and then we'll wrap it up right after the interview. So we got Matt Park and Yassine Willis to break down the action from Atlanta. Here we go.
Okay, guys, in the locker room, Yassine Willis is with us after a 3-touchdown game in a loss. Let's put that in perspective if you can. What'd you think of the day, game 1?
We still got a lot of things to, focus on and fix. I feel like we came out, we played a great team. Our team, we played tough today, but, they capitalized off of all of our mistakes. So, we just got to get back to the drawing board and fix everything that we need to.
The physical run game seemed to really work for you. You had the 3 touchdown runs. The one, I guess, was an option, so maybe you could take us through that one. But then the other stuff was between the tackles for the most part.
First touchdown, it was an option between me and Steve. Steve seeing that the DN was, pursuing him more. So, he got the ball to me, be able to get to the power line and get through. The rest of the 2, it was just tough downhill runs. Bigs on big. It's whoever want to get dirty.
Yeah, and you look like you've slimmed down. I mean, you've trimmed down. You've got that great physique. You've always had it, but it doesn't look quite as quite a stick.
Not yet. I kind of dropped my body fat down from about 13% to 9%. So, yeah.
Impressive. Did you feel like the offensive line got better as the game went on? It would be understandable, obviously. You're working on that through game 1 here.
I feel like our O-line, did exceptionally well. Still, like I said, still some things that we got to fix. Some things that came a little fast that they didn't really see. So, like I said, back to the drawing board, man. We're getting ready for week 2.
Well, as you know, it's a long season. It feels like the attitude in the locker room here is where it should be, that, hey, this is one game and you got a lot to go.
Yeah, facts, for sure. Coach Fran always preaches to us, don't hold on to one thing. That happened, let it go, put it in the past. Now it's time to move on to the next.
Oh, there you go. That's Matt Park with Yassine Willis, who, again, was, in my opinion, our star of the game today for Syracuse. Had 3 touchdowns for the Orange. Had 3 of the 4 touchdowns altogether on the day for Syracuse. A bummer that maybe Syracuse wasn't a little bit more competitive and dug a hole so early and had to play comeback. But again, the season is long, and I ask everybody just to dig in with me, still wrap everything you got around the hype of Syracuse football, because the fun thing about this schedule, and we've talked about it before, every week's going to feel like this in the sense that you have an opportunity to play a really good team. Like, sure, okay, Colgate might not have the same buzz, but like people are sleeping on the UConn game, 9-win team last year. And then Duke, a 9-win season last year. I believe they upgraded at quarterback with Darian Mensah. Manny Diaz is always going to have a great defense. Like, pack the dome. Huge home game against Duke. That's a good team. That could be a sleeper in the ACC. Massive game for the Cuse. A lot of people like Pitt. What Pat Narduzzi and Eli Holstein got cooking in the 4-1-2. That's a big game. That's in the dome. North Carolina, what are they going to look like? We're going to find out a lot when they play on Monday night. That's on Halloween night in the dome. Let's pack that thing. And then on top of it, you talk about the road games. I mean, how fun is it when you get to buckle up and watch them play Clemson and Notre Dame and Miami and Georgia Tech and SMU? There's still a lot to be excited about this season, and I encourage everybody to stay as bought in as I am and all of us are here at Cuse Sports Talk, because we got the right coach. We got the right coach, and we have good players, and they're going to continue to get better, and I don't think there's any question about that. This was a fun one, guys. The pregame show was an absolute blast, so awesome to have Mike McAllister on. Appreciate having everybody call in that called in and interacted in the chat. And let's do it again next week. Plenty of awesome programming throughout the week. Tim Leonard's going to start his brand new evening show, airing from 5 to 6 every weeknight right here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio Syracuse. Then you can always listen to Orange Nation noon to 2, as always. So join us throughout the week, and then me and Mike will have you covered pregame next week. We'll be live in person from Shaughnessy's next week for Syracuse and UConn, and we'll be right back here postgame after UConn as well to break it all down. For everyone back in the control room making the magic happen today, thank you to Jordan, thank you to David, thank you to Paul for spending their entire Saturday hanging out with us here and watching football. We had a blast. And thank you to everybody for tuning in as well. One more time, the final score from Atlanta, 45-26. Tennessee advances to 1-0. Syracuse 0-1, but a long season ahead for the Orange. Signing off for now, I'm Giovanni Heater from Syracuse. We'll see you next time on Cuse Sports Talk at ESPN Radio Syracuse.
Pain has taken enough.